What's going on, everyone? Let me tell you about something that came up on SportsCenter today, right after the Lakers clinched their NBA Cup group with that big win over the Clippers. And I'm talking about the kind of story that brings back memories of what could have been, the type of sliding doors moment that has Lakers fans wondering if the front office made the right call or if they let a golden opportunity slip through their fingers. This is the narrative that forces you to balance optimism about where the team is now with legitimate questions about whether they could have been even better if things had played out differently back in February. So settle in, because what I'm about to share from today's ESPN broadcast isn't just about one trade that didn't happen. It's about organizational decision-making, risk assessment, and whether the Lakers are truly doing everything they can to maximize this championship window with LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Lakers fans, real quick, that like button is how we grow this community. Every like pushes this to another fan who bleeds orange and blue. If this content means something to you, just take 1 second and hit that like. It means the world to me and helps us build the strongest Lakers community on YouTube. Let's do this together. All right. Here's the situation that had the entire SportsCenter panel absolutely engaged this morning after the Lakers secured their spot in the NBA Cup knockout round. And I'm talking about veteran NBA analysts who remember exactly what went down back in February when the Lakers thought they had a deal done for Mark Williams. The main story wasn't just about the Lakers advancing in the in-season tournament or about how guys like Jackson Hayes are excited about the $54,000 bonus they'll get for making it this far. It was about how watching Luka Doncic operate in pick-and-roll situations keeps bringing up the question of whether he'd be even more devastating with someone like Mark Williams finishing lobs and rolling to the rim instead of what they currently have at the center position. Let me start by giving you the full context that SportsCenter was establishing right at the beginning of the broadcast, because understanding what happened with that failed Williams trade is absolutely essential for grasping why it keeps coming up in conversations about the Lakers' championship chances. Back in February 2025, the Lakers thought they had a deal done with the Charlotte Hornets to acquire Mark Williams as part of the larger trade that brought Luka Doncic to Los Angeles. Williams was supposed to be the perfect complement to Luka's game, a young athletic center with a 7.6.5 wingspan who could finish lobs, protect the rim, and rebound at a high level. But then Williams failed his physical with the Lakers, finding multiple health issues, including concerns about his ankle, back, and knee, and the trade got rescinded at the last minute. But here's what really got the SportsCenter analysts fired up about the whole situation, and this is where the what-if questions become so tantalizing. Mark Williams is now with the Phoenix Suns after they acquired him over the summer, and he's been healthy and playing well, which has a lot of people around the league questioning whether the Lakers' medical staff was overly cautious or if they genuinely dodged a bullet with someone who has long-term durability concern. The ESPN crew was showing highlights of Williams throwing down lobs, blocking shots at the rim, grabbing rebounds in traffic, basically doing all the things that would make him an absolute perfect fit alongside Luka Doncic in pick-and-roll situations. The show dove deep into why Williams made so much sense for the Lakers, specifically after they acquired Luka. And here's where you really see the strategic thinking that went into originally pursuing him. When Dallas had Luka, they surrounded him with vertical threats like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively too, who could catch lobs and finish above the rim. And that combination was absolutely devastating for opposing defenses. The SportsCenter analysts were explaining how Luka is a maestro at creating opportunities for rim-running centers, how his ability to manipulate defenses with his dribble and passing creates wide-open dunks and layups if you have the right personnel. Williams, with his length and athleticism, was supposed to be that guy for the Lakers. What the ESPN crew kept emphasizing, and I think this is absolutely critical for understanding why the Lakers were so interested in the first place, is that after trading Anthony Davis as part of the Doncic package, the Lakers were left without a true rim-protecting center. They had some pieces, but nobody who could really provide the combination of size, athleticism, shot blocking, and rebounding that Williams offered. At only 23 years old, he was also on a rookie-scale contract, which made him incredibly valuable from a salary cap perspective, allowing the Lakers to add a high-impact young player without breaking the bank or compromising future financial flexibility. The panel spent extensive time analyzing what went wrong with the physical and whether the Lakers made the right call by backing out of the trade. Some analysts argued that any time you have concerns about a player's long-term health, especially someone with a history of ankle, back, and knee issues, you have to protect yourself and walk away no matter how much you want the player. The risk of acquiring someone who breaks down and can't stay on the court is simply too high, particularly when you're in win-now mode and can't afford to waste roster spots on guys who can't contribute. Others countered that every player in the NBA has some injury history, that if you're too conservative, you'll never make moves, and that Williams playing well for Phoenix now proves the Lakers were overly cautious and missed out on a perfect fit. What I found particularly fascinating during today's SportsCenter discussion was when they started connecting the Williams situation to the Lakers' current center rotation and whether they have what they need to win a championship. The analysts were breaking down how the Lakers are managing with what they have, how guys like Jackson Hayes provide energy and athleticism but don't have Williams's combination of size and skill, how they're sometimes forced into smaller lineups that can be exploited by teams with dominant big men. The question kept coming back to whether the Lakers are good enough at the center position to beat teams like Denver with Nikola Jokic, or other elite Western Conference teams in a 7-game playoff series. The show also explored the financial and roster construction implications of not having Williams, and this sparked really interesting debates about team-building philosophy. Because Williams would have been on a cheap rookie contract, the Lakers could have used their mid-level exception and other resources to add additional pieces around LeBron, Luka, and Williams. Instead, they've had to allocate more money to the center position or make do with lesser options, which has affected their ability to add depth in other areas. The SportsCenter panel was discussing whether that opportunity cost of not having Williams on a rookie deal is actually more significant than people realize when you factor in all the downstream effects on roster construction. What really struck me during the ESPN analysis was when they started showing comparisons between what Williams is doing in Phoenix versus what the Lakers' centers are producing. Williams is averaging solid numbers, protecting the rim at a high level, providing the exact type of presence in the paint that teams need in playoff basketball. The analysts were raising the question of whether Rob Pelinka and the Lakers' medical staff will look back on this decision with regret, whether they'll wonder if they should have taken the risk, or whether Williams will eventually have injury problems that vindicate their caution. The SportsCenter crew also spent time discussing the broader context of the NBA Cup and whether winning it should even be a priority for the Lakers given their championship aspirations. This was actually one of the most interesting debates of the entire segment because you had analysts on both sides making compelling arguments. Some pointed out that the players clearly care about it, that guys like Jackson Hayes are excited about the $500,000 they could win if they go all the way, that LeBron and the veterans want to win it for those role players who could really use that money. The in-season tournament isn't just some meaningless exhibition, it's a real competition with real stakes and real financial reward. But here's where the counter-argument came in, and I think this perspective resonated with a lot of Lakers fans watching the broadcast. The ESPN analysts were pointing out that when the Lakers won the first in-season tournament under Darvin Ham, they immediately went into a tailspin afterward, going on an extended losing streak and looking completely deflated. The same thing happened to Indiana that year and to Milwaukee last season. There's a real concern that putting too much energy and emotion into winning the in-season tournament could leave you physically and mentally exhausted for the regular season games that actually matter for playoff seeding. The panel kept coming back to the fundamental question of priorities and what the Lakers are actually trying to accomplish this season. They're not chasing in-season tournament trophies. They're chasing Larry O'Brien trophies. They're trying to win NBA championships. The SportsCenter analysts were discussing how J.J. Redick is a completely different coach than Darvin Ham in terms of keeping perspective and maintaining focus on the ultimate goal. Where Ham seemed to treat the in-season tournament win like they'd won the finals, Redick would presumably keep everyone grounded and remind them that it's just one small step on a much longer journey. What I loved about today's Sports Center coverage was how they connected these two seemingly unrelated storylines: the Mark Williams trade that didn't happen and the in-season tournament success, into a broader narrative about the Lakers' championship window and whether they're maximizing it. Both stories ultimately come down to the same question: are the Lakers making the right decisions to give themselves the best possible chance to win a title with LeBron and Luka? Walking away from Williams because of health concerns might have been the prudent move, or it might have been an overly conservative decision that cost them a perfect fit. Prioritizing the regular season and playoffs over the in-season tournament makes logical sense, but you also can't just tank games or not try when you're out there competing. Listen, after watching the entire Sports Center segment today about the Lakers clinching their NBA Cup group and the lingering questions about Mark Williams, I'm absolutely convinced that this franchise is in a fascinating position where every decision matters, and the margins between success and failure are razor thin. The Williams trade falling through might end up being one of those what-if moments that people talk about for years, or it might end up being a bullet dodge if he has injury problems down the line. The in-season tournament is a nice bonus if they can win it without compromising their ultimate goal, but it can't become a distraction or leave them exhausted for the games that truly matter. What's clear is that with LeBron at 40 and Luka in his prime, this championship window is right now, and every roster decision, every game, every opportunity to improve matters more than ever. The Lakers are good enough to win it all as currently constructed, but the question will always linger: could they have been even better with Mark Williams finishing lobs from Luka Doncic?